Okay, everybody, welcome to NAMA. We'll give a minute for people to join the live stream. Let us know once you get here that you can hear us and see us. We're a little late today. We apologize for that.
I had a field trip class and traffic getting home, and this was the soonest I could get here.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys all understand that. Let's see. News. What kind of news do we have? We have officially an events page on our website now. So if you haven't seen that, go to Ready, Sit, Go, then go to events at the top tab, and you can see a list of most of the events we're doing throughout the year and throughout the country. So if you want to visit with us, get some private lessons in, if there's space, or get into a workshop, we try to put the workshop hosts in there as well. At least I'm trying to do that. So I don't have everyone's information. Let us know. What other news do we have? Any events we should talk about in particular?
Well, for those who are local, we have our game day coming up on
Yes.
the second weekend of July. I don't know, there might be a spot or two open still.
Yeah. So if you've never done one of our game days, it's a lot of fun. Hey, Julie. Hey, Ann. Glad to see you guys.
Got a new game.
July schedules are out.
Yep.
For the public?
No.
Only for premium members.
Yeah, probably today or tomorrow it'll go public, but for now, just premium.
Yes. Just a quick note for those of you who take our classes. I mean, I don't know how many people watch this, but if you sign up for a class that has already happened, or you sign up really close to the class happening, make sure you email us, because I, in particular, don't see the notifications when someone signs up. And so...
And you usually have sent it like the night before, and so that
so then I forget to email you. Exactly. So I'm not forgetting to send it to you because I don't like you. It's just I didn't see it. So make sure to email if you sign up late or after the fact. Oh, good. We're getting some... we're getting some questions already. Yes, absolutely. We'd love to come down for a game day.
To Tennessee, yeah, that would be great fun.
Yeah. We've been getting this question a lot. Yes, you can sign up for past courses. If you know there's a course you missed that you'd like to sign up, let me know. Or
classes.
Classes. Yep. Or if you would like to, if you have a topic that you're like, oh, I want classes on this topic. Do you have anything? Let me know. I tend to label mine so I can easily look up, oh, you're interested in sourcing or something. I can look up what classes were on that topic. And we're starting to put out like miniature I'm thinking about starting to put out miniature packages. So I'm going to think about packaging all the Amazing Mazes curriculum all into one small course that people can buy. There was a bunch of interest in that recently because of a webinar I did. I'm thinking about doing another run of Amazing Mazes for those who didn't get it last time. Lots of good interest in that. So we'll definitely try to get that out to you soon. Let's see. We're hosting an ORT soon. We should probably put that on our event list.
It's there. September 12th.
There it is, ORT in High Ridge, Missouri.
That's going to open for registration on July 1st.
Yes.
So more information about that's going to be coming up in the next day or so.
I will be debriefing. Keebler's NW1 was on Saturday. I'll be debriefing it in this NAMA later today. We'll watch the videos and criticize my handling and talk about what we could do better, what we could do, what we did good, things like that. So if you stick around, you'll be able to watch that. What else? Anything else interesting news-wise that you can think of?
Not really, but I need to have a conversation with the dog. So you talk for a minute.
Okay.
And we'll come back to that.
Absolutely. If there are courses you want us to focus on in particular, right now, my travel schedule is pretty crazy. So summer, I probably won't be able to get out. I won't be able to get new courses out, but I'm working on a lot of courses. I'm working on Mastering Distractors. I think that one, and reading How to Read Your Dog Like a Book. I want to make those courses available as self-study courses, so that we have a few more courses in our catalog. Let's see what else. Minnow finished her Master Hunter title. I know it's not nose work, but I still am very proud of her. Catfish has one more leg to go. Hopefully, we can get that done. Now that Minnow is done with her Master Hunt title, she's gonna get to play in some other sports. I'm kind of doing tri-ball with her right now, and also looking into, I'm going to do some elite trials, but probably not going to get into that until fall. So we'll see what happens in the meantime. While I wait for Natalie to come back, let's see if there's any other news that I'm missing. Oh yeah, if there's any other classes. So the way we define things, courses are videos that you can watch on our website and study on your own. Classes are the ones where you attend in person and work your dog for us. If there are any class topics that you guys would like, let me know, because I'm creating a rotation of classes that I'm just going to cycle through. So that makes life easier for me. And so if there are topics you want, let me know, and then I'll try to add them to the schedule. Okay.
All right, we've got a lot of questions today.
Excellent.
And your videos.
Yeah. What do you think we should start with?
Maybe some questions and then video, and then if we have time, we'll do more questions.
Okay, we'll take 5 questions, then do the NW1 debrief.
Okay. So we're going to start with the questions that were pre-submitted.
Yes. Which you can always pre-submit questions in the Facebook group or by emailing us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A dog often alerts on a container adjacent to the container with source. It seems as though the dog is saying, "Hey, I'm an odor," even though it's not source. Any suggestions for giving the dog clarity as to what is expected? Pairing? Fewer containers? Simplify the odor picture?
No.
Drills or games? This dog is an Irish setter, and in bird hunting, we would say he has a long nose.
Yeah.
And if the handler could produce the bird, all would be well, although that's not what we want in scent work competition.
I would disagree. I think you should be wanting to produce the odor, so to speak. And I think that would solve a lot of problems for you. I think the big thing I think that would be a mistake is simplifying the odor picture. I think that making it easier for him to get to source is going to take you the wrong direction from where you want to go.
It kind of depends on what you mean by making it easier to get to source.
Yeah, correct. Oh, sorry. I don't mean easier to get to source. I mean easier. What do I mean?
To get paid?
Yeah, to get paid. That's probably better. Like, one thing I would do is more containers, but the containers would be open. Open containers are amazing. They allow more airflow between containers, so you have more pooling odor on the wrong containers. You can pair it if you want, although strictly speaking, I don't think that's necessary. I think pairing is a good thing, but it's not a good thing if it becomes a crutch. So if you feel like you can't do it without pairing, that's a problem. But yeah, I would highly recommend that you open the boxes, that you start setting or do closed boxes and start setting up what I call the most important container drill. I am planning a container course. I know we've gotten a lot of requests on container training. So what I call the most important container drill is you set up a whole bunch of containers and you put the hide anywhere else. Ideally, up a little bit where the wind is dropping the odor on all the containers. So there's that picture of the dog smelling pooling odor on the containers, but then has to follow the odor all the way to the source, which is somewhere else. And so it teaches the dog to keep expanding, rather than pick random boxes. And the problem with it, if it's in a box, is eventually picking a random box will work. And then you don't end up, you think, well, at least I paid them on the right box. No, from the dog's perspective, they just guessed until they got a treat.
And I think a lot of dogs are so disconnected from source in their container searches, even if they're getting paid on the right box regularly, because they're paying more attention to pooling and slobber than they are to whether or not source is actually inside of the containers, that they just have to be recalibrated to hunting for source and containers, treating it the same as interior, exterior, and vehicle. And if you can switch it back into hunting for source instead of pooling, then that fixes usually like 90+% of container problems.
Yeah, the problem with containers is one of the big problems with containers is that they're always inaccessible hides, which when you train inaccessible hides, you're training the dog to fringe. And so if you can eliminate how many inaccessible hides you're doing by opening the boxes and making it about getting to source,
And
then
putting hides on the outside of boxes,
Correct.
anywhere that they can source
they
it.
can, yeah, and maintaining that same standard we maintain everywhere else.
Yeah.
People way overestimate how regularly you have to show your dog closed boxes. They should almost never be closed. If you think your dog doesn't understand the seam, do a drill to teach the dog how to find the seam of a particular container, which needs to be done on every new container type. But once that's done, there's very little value in running closed containers, in my opinion.
Doing a new tune-up on container seaming is good to do semi-regularly.
Yeah, and if you have been participating in my Perfect Patterns container course recently, that's what we started with. We started about teaching the dog how to seam, and every week since then, the boxes have been open. So, like, once we know they can seam, there's no value to continuing, we're going to close boxes just so we can close them. No, just have them open. Much, much better. Keeps the dog connection to source.
What?
Nothing.
No.
Is there another question?
We have a follow-up comment. I was trying to figure out if it was a question. She says, not boxes, other kinds of containers. But whatever kind of
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it could be vehicles, honestly, or cabinets or whatever. Any inaccessible hide is all the same. Yeah.
Toolboxes, the new ones, any of the ones AKC uses, all
buried.
All the same. Mm-hmm. Yes, buried. Definitely. Okay, well, let us know if there's any more follow-up question to that. Our second question is, I'm seeing at Summit more and more bonus challenges being some variation of standing at a threshold or staying in one spot and sending the dog into an area to search and getting extra points if you don't cross the line. How would you go about training this with a dog who's a very solid and independent hunter but is used to being rewarded at source? I've played with the idea and he does well with 1 to 2 hides, but then seems to get confused when I'm not coming in to pay on multiple hides in a row. Seems like it might be a good skill to have. Yes, I do think it's a good skill to have.
Absolutely. Definitely take a look at the webinar I just did with Scentwork University, More Than Payment, Strategic Reinforcement for Nosework Dog. I think that's the title. I talk a lot about reinforcing at source and away from source and things like that. I think keep in mind in training, there's a lot you can do, and there's a lot you can do in between the extremes. Mm-hmm. So, for example, a lot of people reward at source, meaning they step all the way into the dog and feed at source, but you can also reward at source by staying far back and throwing. I do a lot of throwing. If you watch me train my dogs, I throw almost all the treats at my dog, either at the hide or away from the hide, either way.
Or at the dog.
Yeah, at the dog, because usually the dog is in the way, so they'll get hit by the treat. Once the dog gets used to this, they don't care so much about your proximity or the treat's proximity. But even releasing the dog from odor to come to you, that's a skill that you should have, in my opinion, and the dog should be fine with it. We should use rewarding at source to solve particular problems. It's a type of reinforcement that solves a problem, just like any other type of reinforcement. But I don't think the dog should get so conditioned to one type of reinforcement in the same way that my dogs don't get so conditioned to one type of reinforcement in their heel work that they can't accept other types of reinforcement. Yeah, sure. 99% of the time I reward heeling, spin to the outside, miss the toy and strike it. Okay, that's my standard bread and butter. But I can throw that toy on the ground, release them to it. I can release them out of heel to go bite a sleeve on a decoy, whatever it might be. I can reward my heeling with whatever kind of reward I want, and the dog is okay with that.
And people who use toys in nosework tend to have a lot more of this built in because of the way that you use toys. And for example, when I am paying with a toy, some of the time I toss the toy in at source and they can catch it or whatever they want to do. But a lot of the time I am calling them in to strike the toy in my hand, and I could do the same thing with food if I wanted to. And you mentioned that he does well for 1 to 2 hides, but then seems to get confused. So are you reinforcing him for those hides, or is he getting confused because he's doing multiple hides without payment?
Yeah.
Because you can definitely bridge that gap.
I also know there's a lot of people who are in the quote unquote anti-marker camp. They don't believe in using markers, which really just means they don't want to use their voice. And I think if you're not crossing a line and you're going to reinforce them over there, you have to use your voice. So you have to tell them they've earned a reinforcer and that they can come back and collect it. You have to tell them that. And if you can't tell them that, they're going to be very frustrated.
And there are several games that we like to play that have to do with distance, and it doesn't all have to necessarily have to do with distance reinforcement, but you can certainly use them to work on some of that stuff.
You could reinforce remotely in any of those games.
Yeah, like Conveyor Belt and Yellow Brick Road,
Separation
Anxiety,
Watch and Learn.
Watch and Learn. And I would just say, start it small and keep building, and don't try to build to a summit search too quickly necessarily, or be like really far away, but there's one hide back there or two hides back there, and you do that, and then you go to a new place, and you're not doing like, I think there was a search recently where there were like 5 or 6 within the search area, where if you stayed behind the line, you could get them all. And I think when we encounter things in Summit that are unexpected, we just have to think strategically in the moment. What can I do that's changing as little as possible to get the results I want? And then I will work on it more in practice. So it's good that you're working on it in practice now. But the first Summit I did with Hazel, we had a search where if you called a hide from the start box, you got bonus points. And so I used my 15-foot long line, and I stayed in the box, and my dog worked that whole area out in front of me that they could reach with the 15-foot line, and they got it. There were like 3 or 4 hides, I think, that they could reach within that area. So there was a lot of options. But I talked to a friend at the end of the day who it didn't occur to stay on leash, and the dog left the part of the search area that you could see from the start box, and so the handler decided naturally that they needed to follow the dog because they couldn't see or call any alerts from the start box. So there are things we can do to up our chances if we run into something in the moment.
Yeah, another thing that's worth mentioning is I think if your dog is having trouble, they can do it on one hide, but if it's 3 or 4 hides, they start to lose confidence. You might be able to actually get a lot of work done by paying one hide multiple times and just say, this is just how we're paying today. Is you go there, you get a treat. You go there, you get a treat. You go there, you get a treat. If you can do that 5 or 6 times, the dog probably won't care whether it's 1 time on 4 hides or 4 times on 1 hide. You can just get more reps in that way and more confidence building quicker.
You just have to make sure that they're able to go back to hunting when you ask them to. If you say then up to that,
they need to
2 hides,
understand the difference between sticking and hunting. That's for sure.
Yeah. If I tried to do that with Triss right now, I think she'd have a very hard time unsticking from the first hide. Whereas Icy,
really, you think?
Yes.
I
mean, she would eventually, but she's like, "Why move when you could pay me 500 times?"
Oh well, yeah, but yeah, sure.
She doesn't always respond to her release as fluently as I would
like,
but
I understand.
We're getting there. Whereas Icy, that would be continuing hunting would be the easy side, sticking would be the harder side.
Right.
But I think if you keep, let us know if there are any real specifics that you're dealing with. But I think if you just keep working on it, you guys will get there. Okay. Question 3. I'd love to hear all about your summit. I don't think I remember all about my summit now a week later. Lessons learned, skills you might need to refine, or based on results which teams as a whole would need to have or work on to be successful. Icy is retired from Summit now. But if we were continuing, one thing that I was working on throughout probably all the summits was, calibrating the when to take a risk and call alert and when to be more conservative and not, without a lot more information. There was a hide in the Wyoming summit that was quite elevated and everywhere. And if I had called what she was giving me, we would have gotten a yes there. And there was a high hide in this last trial that I called without all the information we needed to have gotten a yes. We weren't in, she was encountering the odor from that. And I even, looked up at one point, but it was, way over there. So just continually, recalibrating that and trying to take the lessons from a summit without overdoing it. My last 2 summits prior to last week, we had no-nos, if I remember correctly. And this one we had 3, I think. And, depending on your personality, it can be hard not to overswing a little bit. But, I feel like eventually it gets better and better. I would say skills-wise for my dog, if we were still trialing in Summit, it would be the really deep hides. there were a couple different times, different trials where we had very deep chair behind stacks, many stacks of chairs that we didn't get. That I would get enough information for me to be suspicious, and not enough information for me to feel like I should call something. So that would definitely be something. Um, Have you seen enough summits to have any thoughts here?
No. Make sure your dog doesn't have a UTI.
Yeah, when you figure out mid-trial that your dog has a UTI, that's lots of fun. And I think, big thing throughout Summit is deciding how you're divvying up your time. Do you think you're doing something productive? Should you move on because you have so much space left to deal with in a limited amount of time, and using as much of your time as you can? I had one search last weekend where we found 2 hides in the last 20-25 seconds. And then we had another one where my feeling of the time didn't exactly match where the timer was, and I timed out. And I was wearing, people afterwards were like, well, what about your watch? You should use one. And I'm like, yes, I was using one. It was on. I decided to ignore it because I give myself several seconds of buffer time after I start my watch before I let my dog over the start line. And I just felt it wrong in the moment. And also being okay with that kind of thing, because mistakes are going to happen in Summit. And, yes, there have been people who got all the hides in Summit trials, but that's not, I don't think, what people should be expecting or even trying for, if it is going to, stress you or make you feel like you didn't do as well as you could have because, I didn't find all of them. Well, that's pretty rare in Summit. And I don't think what the CEOs are really going for. And, you're always trying to decide, should I keep pursuing the problem that I'm seeing here? It's similar to how you divvy up your time, but like when your dog's an odor, can you do something to help them get this done? Should you just keep waiting them out and supporting them, or should you go and do something else? Come back if you can. There was a hide that last weekend where I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a floor hide somewhere in here, because I saw a little bit of ground sniffing in a couple different places. And then when she went over the thing I thought had it, nothing. And so then you're weighing, well, do I ask her more directly to come back and work it, which I decided not to do, but there was a hide there. Do I want those points enough to ask that? And those are personal decisions. And I think, you just have to decide so that you can be happy with the decisions that you make in the trial. And I'm sure there are other things I should be saying, but I'm not thinking of them right now. So feel free to ask more Summit questions at some point. Okay, question. What are we on? 4?
Yeah, this will be 4.
I have small terriers. The girl, you've seen her online, Juniper, has a frenetic, chaotic search style that makes leash handling a real challenge for me, especially in containers. An instructor suggested that a flexi lead might be a good idea in this limited application, and I'd like to hear y'all's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of dog trainers, I think we both have a strong aversion to flexi leads, but you should try it. Try it for a couple of weeks before you write it off.
Yeah,
have it as a tool. Yeah, have it as a tool in your toolkit, and then you can decide whether you like it or not.
I've recommended it to more than one person for specific applications. And I also think I don't know how you leash handle already, but try some straight line leash handling, taught enough that the leash is straight and not bouncing. And that should, in something like containers, keep your leash further away from the containers, which might be very helpful.
I was going to say a similar thing, which is, I would lean more on training. I would train her to run a more methodical pattern. And then part of that training may be restraint on your part with the leash. Teaching the dog that there is a way that we are going to go, just the same way we do on vehicles when we're first teaching vehicles, and then you loosen it up over time. But I like to teach my dogs on vehicles to approach it in a particular way so that they go around it very nice, take the corners.
We do with a lot of hide placement.
Yeah, lots of hide placement and some restraint on the leash, teaching the dog to stick to the car when they're allowed to leave, when they're not allowed to leave, and then over time easing up on the reins, letting the dog explore more freely. Yes, we start free, very free in our initial foundation, and then we add some discipline, and then we go back to being free. And I think that's the right bell curve for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right, this is a big one. Read about your NW3 with Tris earlier today. Thank you for sharing. I'm curious about your plans for working the dog slobber problem because I'm having the same issue with my dog. And then we've got a bunch of faults, so I'm going to read those real quick. I second this. It's particularly an issue in containers. It's hard to simulate in practice. The closest I've gotten is using a treat inside a box and letting a non-nosework dog get excited about getting the treat. But that false alert rule where multiple dogs false alert on the same box is challenging to proof, at least for me. I'm interested in this too. We have false several times in the last 2 trials where other dogs have also false, likely on pooling odor, stacks of chairs and tables near a very high hide. I train dirty with residual and pooling odor all the time. What I have not trained is other dog odor that is in those same areas. Yes, that's quite different. Okay, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I do think if you're the kind of person, which I know that you guys aren't necessarily, but if you're the kind of person that has clean box separate from your hot boxes, that's a mistake by itself. I don't think that you can ask a dog to drool all over boxes and that it'll work. But there's something different about alert drool. I don't know what it is, but what I would do is put a hide in a box, allow dogs to alert on it, then remove that hide, move it somewhere else while leaving the alert residual drool in the environment. Of course, as you already guessed from our previous comments about containers, this would be with open containers. I don't think it adds anything to confuse the dog by closing that container and the dog is like, maybe there's odor inside, maybe there's not. I would rather just start letting the dog know drool with lingering or residual odor doesn't pay, but there is a tin out here somewhere that will pay. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
And I think part of what false alert drool is that's different is the little bits of your treats that end up on there. Now,
yeah, but that's why they're saying you can put a treat in the container and let some dog eat it.
Yes, but that's different because then you take it out, and it's not the little bits in the drool that's down there. Now, I'm not disagreeing that there isn't a difference. There's something inside their drool that's different. I think that's probably true, but I think you can get a lot of dogs with drool that's not necessarily from a false alert if you're strategic about it.
I will say I've had some people talk about using swabs or cotton balls inside the dog's mouth to soak up drool and then putting that out, and they've had some success with that. I've never done it myself, but I think it's a really interesting idea that you could put that in their mouth while you give them treats, let them drool all over it, and then put that in your search area, not even in just containers, in any search area, and see what happens there.
Yeah. And one of the drills that I'm planning on doing with Tris, because she had a false on pooling and slobber, confirmed that there were 2 or 3 dogs who false there before she did, on vehicles and in containers. So it wasn't just containers, even though that is often the case. Is that we're going to set a bunch of hides, run a dog on them or multiple, and move them, and maybe even do that multiple times. And so then she's dealing with real lingering / pooling and drool.
That means you've got to go train with other people. You have to. There's
no
way around it.
You can't fix this problem, yes. I don't think, without.
And so I think some of the people who are responding to this question, I know that they train solo a lot. Mm-hmm. They train solo, and you're gonna always have this issue. Before Keebler's NW1, I was running in all of our classes with him, and I was trying to run him at the end, so he had to follow all the other dogs. If you train solo like we do, you've got to go out of your way to get around other dogs, running similar searches in the same space with your dogs so they get used to the smells.
Yeah. Someone's saying sometimes I rub treats in search areas as distractions. Yep, absolutely. That's an important one.
I sometimes do a class where I have people stick their hands in their treat pouch and then rub their hands all over different places.
Yeah. I was working with the dog, I think it was last week, he's been having an issue in trial with alerting on containers. False alerting on containers, and I touched a bunch of boxes, and I had her owner touch a whole bunch of boxes, and the dog definitely was like, why, for either of us, both of us, why were you touching this? This must be something important. And boxes, I think, get them more than a lot of things. And going out of your way to do a lot of pooling in containers, and then running dogs when it's a little warm outside and they're panting extra. I was judging a level 2 container element trial one time, and it was going great. And then a very, very warm golden retriever came in and put a ton of slobber on 80% of the containers. And for about 4 dogs, we were getting false alerts. Any container, close to odor, not close to odor, all over the place. And then things kind of went back to almost normal after that. And so, yeah, it's warm for a lot of us right now, so we can utilize that. And that's one where it wasn't falses that the dogs were.
Right, it's just drool.
It was just drool.
Yeah.
Any other exercises for that one?
No, I think that's basically how we handle that.
Yeah, you got to have exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, should we look at Keebler?
Okay, let's watch Keebler's videos.
We're gonna watch this first part.
Maybe. Okay, I think I have shared my screen before, but I'm not used to it. Also share system audio. I'm going to share system audio. Okay. I'm up with him the day before. Okay for you. And we're not going to look too much, but I'm just going to kind of tell you what our warm-up was. We did some tin toss, which you can see here.
Good boy.
I'm throwing treats for him.
Yeah. Yes, good boy.
Okay, I'm throwing treats like I normally do. And then we did one hide over there in that pavilion, which I'll just let you watch the last components of that. I do recommend doing a warm-up with your dog prior to running a trial, especially when you're first starting out. Since a lot of times when you're first starting out, you have a bad first run.
Yeah.
Have your bad first run under your control.
Nice.
So it's just on the trash can right there.
Yeah.
Just some sourcing, with some throwing treats, some high drive stuff.
Yeah,
okay?
that's
it. This much of a warm up with most?
Yeah, I would actually. I don't think it was that much. I know you do, but I don't. I think it was fine. It was a hot day. He was definitely warm, but he did. I'll kind of spoil a little bit for you. We did not get our NW1 title. We'll get to that search in a second. But I think he did reasonably well. We should have titled. We should have titled. And I don't think the warm-up got us farther from the title. I think, if anything, it got us closer. But we'll look. So we started with containers. And one of the things that Keebler came to me with was surface issues. And he definitely showed that here.
Just to the right here.
No, he's mostly not been bothered.
Thank you. Hi.
Like this.
Yeah, when we first got him, he was bothered. Remember when we took him into the hotel, into the PetSmart? He was bothered. We've seen it, but he's worked through a lot, and we didn't have a lot of spaces like this to work in.
Good boy, you ready?
Nancy's commenting that it's very weird to see me with a corgi.
Ready?
I tried to put him on my right side so I could use pull energy,
Search.
but that didn't work.
Okay, fine.
So I was like, okay, never mind. I hadn't practiced that before the trial. So, and here, could that be odor? It could be, or he could be going to the wall, because when dogs are unsure about the flooring, moving up against the wall makes them feel more comfortable.
And it's very visually odd compared to the rest of the wall.
But in terms of odor movement, everything to me is consistent with what I think the odor was doing.
In that you think it was going to that outlet, or you don't? Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, outlets almost always draw odor.
And it's towards the door that we're coming out.
Yeah.
Coming in. Okay. So everyone saw that, hopefully. They left that door open the whole time also. They never closed it. So that's an interesting thing. So I saw that. I stopped. I almost called alert there. But he's very sticky. He's pretty sticky. And so I expect him to stick it better than that. So I was like, okay, well, let's come down another path just to be sure.
Was it cool in here? Because it was hot outside.
I don't remember. Okay, so come past the boxes, switch direction, and now we're on the bad side, but it's easy because he knows what we're doing. That's the one I need him to check. And he gave a little bit more of a check, but I can't tell if it's because of my leash work or if it's because of the odor.
And did you just? Oh, never mind. You turn around. I was going to ask you. Did you go all the way back?
Oh yeah, no, I went all
you
the way
did?
down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not convinced enough to just stay in that area.
No, I'm not. If I'm gonna force him to alert on it, then I might as well just walk over there and call alert, which is what I do in
Well,
the end.
running the whole line, half of the search area is not going to force him to alert.
Search.
I think you should cover your whole search area.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been wrong, and it could have been done.
Correct. And so just watching this, you know, he doesn't look like he's that worried. But watch what happens when we leave the row of boxes. And I think you'll see the worry. It suddenly hits me.
Well, and he's being weird for him.
He is.
Hey,
He normally
buddy.
moves faster than that.
You ready?
So I try to jazz him up.
You ready? Oh, is it the floor?
And then I
Oh,
noticed
it's
he
to the
got
floor.
really
Hey,
funny and
buddy.
clingy.
You ready?
He almost didn't want to eat the
Ready?
food.
Search.
And it's
Good
easy
boy,
to chalk
search.
things up to being at a trial and there being people watching you and all that versus being the floor.
Alert. Attaboy.
So he was
Yes,
right the
good
first
job.
time.
You did it.
And he did pretty well
What a good
considering
boy.
all things considered. The flooring,
Yes,
everything
good
else. This is the
job.
first search of the day.
Yes,
Brand new
what a
environment.
good boy.
I could tell that I was a little nervous, and I could see that he was reading my nerves.
Job. Thank you.
I'm pretty happy with that search. Are there things I would like to do differently? Absolutely. But mostly in training, not things handled differently, personally. I would like to have tried to explore him to more of these flooring. Field trips out to flooring, he was pretty good. So it did catch me off guard a little bit. That'll just be an ongoing challenge for
I mean,
him.
for a while, when he was on primary and we had him at hotels and stuff, we would do like all the bathroom flooring, all the
Correct,
kitchen flooring.
correct.
We would do a lot of different food stuff in there, and he's come a long, long, long way from that.
Yes.
Hi.
So this vehicle surge was the lowest passenger trial, right?
Yeah, I think 13 out of 25. This was the search of the day that made for people.
You're amazing. Okay, thank you so much.
We good?
You're ready.
Excellent. Thank you. Search.
So I like that he really went right to work after you released him.
He loves vehicles. We didn't do a lot of vehicle training, but he seems to love it. That leaf on the ground was really interesting. I was going to spiral him there, but then he took the corner on his own. And here is where I'm assessing.
Alert.
I'm like, is it on the other side of the car? That's the main thing I'm thinking about here. And he's not doing any bracketing.
No.
So to me, I called alert.
Attaboy.
got a yes.
What a good job.
First
You
place
did it,
overall.
First
buddy.
place in this.
That's a
search.
good boy.
Sorry, yeah, first place in this.
You did it. What a good boy. Thank you.
Which is pretty cool. I'm happy about that. I'm happy you got a first place in the hardest search of the day.
Yeah.
That
much.
makes me feel pretty good.
Hello.
And now we get to exterior. Okay, so this is where I think we'll spend most of our time criticizing me.
How's everybody doing?
We're staying cool this time.
Yeah, I like the shade. Okay, buddy. Ready?
Oh, this is painful.
Search.
Okay, so this is a good start. He goes off to hunting. He's working. He's checking objects. I'm like, okay, this is a good start.
If I'm going to be nitpicky, your leash is a bit long.
I was worried he was going to pee there, so I give him a little bit of leash pressure. Why is it long to you? Not long to me.
Because it's almost hitting the ground because he's short,
Okay, yeah.
and it's also laying across his side and tail, which a lot of dogs don't like.
That's a good point. Most of my dogs don't carry their tail quite as high. I don't think I really thought about that.
So here I was like, oh, he's finding it, and then he leaves.
Yeah, and I don't know if I didn't support him enough to go back here. But
And
notice I never get back to that grill. Okay? Just notice that. And now here we are back somewhere we've already been. This is violating, for me, one of my basic handling rules that I give my students. Never double check part of the search area until you've single checked the whole area. I haven't done that. And now I'm double checking all of this.
Now he's showing enough interest that I understand why
Yep.
you're double checking this.
And also, I think there's lots of pooling here.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's odor interest all over here.
But-
But also, wouldn't he have found it?
Exactly. I'm treating him like he can't do it. And so if it were here, he'd have told me. But I'm acting like, no, he needs me to baby him. He's not going to tell me. And probably, maybe a little bit because of the container search.
Mhm.
But the vehicle search was so nice. There was no reason for me to worry. I should have just gone corner to corner. If I had done that, we'd have passed.
Yeah, especially with the lack of anything productive happening here at this point in the search.
I really wanted it to be there. And look how slow and pokey he's gotten.
Yeah, he's like, meh, where is it?
Search. Go on.
Yeah, and then so now you're reapplying him to this area.
I am. And so now we're triple checking or quadruple checking. Don't count. It's bad number. I just need to get to that back corner. If I got there, we would have passed. It's not in that grill. That's just a marker.
Thank you.
And
Search.
there's a mixture of
Just
like,
got 30-second warning.
Neither of you want to go work that other half of the search area.
I don't know why. Yeah, it's so pathetic. It's really bad when you feel like we'd have passed if I had been allowed to run off leash.
Mm. Yeah, there were a couple
Oh, you
times.
gotta
that
give me
you wanted to
something.
go there, but not the most recent time that you brought him back.
Yeah, so
over.
with that 30 seconds left, I just start like, okay, we're going to Hail Mary. But I don't call false. He never false alerts, which I love him for. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't give me something that
Lord.
wasn't there.
Thank you.
Okay, there's our time. And she's going to tell
Woo.
me where it is. And look, all we have to do is like
He
take
was
3
trying.
steps.
Yeah.
But he
that
was
side of the
there
bench?
before.
He was.
Oh, you
Should
found
he have
it.
pushed
Yay,
back here on
good
his own?
boy. Thank
Should he
you
have
so
sourced it?
much.
Sure, absolutely. All those things.
We don't know.
And
what
I'm
the wind was
going
doing
out
at
for all the
moment
yellow
that he was
arrows.
stepping
Thank you.
through. But
Yes,
if
good
you
job.
remember
Thank
from
you,
when
guys.
They took off from the start line. They did not go travel through this section.
Nope.
They cut off to the left, and then when they came back, dog didn't push through to this side, and then when they went around, they stopped and turned back before getting to the other side of the table.
So this is definitely like, in my mind, he got his NW1. He should have passed this search. I mean, also that would have required a little bit of my help. So did he really get it? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
But you can say it wasn't entirely his.
No, it really
He
wasn't.
Okay, you ready?
And lastly, let's do our interior search.
Search. Alert. Attaboy.
And that was like a
Yay, what a
seventh
good
place
job.
search.
You did it. Yes, you did it.
There were a lot of dogs.
What a
in
good
4 or 5
boy.
seconds, and we were 7.
Yeah, was that so easy?
very pretty.
What a good boy. Yes, you get all the rest because we're done. Good
That's
job.
something,
Nice.
You know, that you would consider
Thank
working
you.
on moving forward is building that pushiness, so
Yes.
that if you're not the one helping him get around, that he does for you.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I would be doing is like, oh, I'm going to do some trial recovery with him, keep training him. But pushiness, other surfaces, things like that are going to be the focus, just confidence building. And yeah, I think, you know, he needs some endurance too. He's probably a dog that needs to be worked in the summer, but maybe not trialed in the summer. So that he develops more heat tolerance. Although the heat tolerance isn't, in my opinion, what held him back. He did have an endurance issue. There were in both the container and the exterior search. There were points at which he quit, and I had to re-cue him. And that
Is that because he hasn't encountered that many times that he struggled.
Possible. And we haven't done that many blank searches with
Yeah.
him. We need to do more of that. Yeah, I don't know what the wind direction in the exterior was, but my guess is it was blowing onto all those other objects based on the interest he was
Yeah,
showing.
at least some of the time, it has to have been going from the
Yeah.
start line side of the pavilion through the rest of it. But it could be that it had shifted and that pooling was no longer connected to source. We don't know necessarily.
Mhm.
Because it is interesting to me that he put his nose under directly across from where it was on the next bench over, and it wasn't enough information to pull him around or through to the other side. That makes me feel like the wind had shifted, but
Yeah.
could have been confidence or something to not want to push under there.
For sure. So I'm proud of him. He did a good job. I'm excited about trying again with him if I get another chance. And yeah, he's been a blast to train. So
And he's really cute too.
he's very cute.
Okay, we have time for some more questions.
Sure. I got nowhere to be.
More. I have a class in 35 minutes. Okay, let's see. I just got my NW3 Elite title a few months ago. I don't plan on doing an Elite trial until this fall. What area should I be adding to my training to prepare?
The main thing I would say is if if you're in an NW3 mindset, is break this fear of calling alert. That's my thing. What would you say?
Processing the competition strategy and scoring difference is valuable. So you don't have to go through several trials of, oh, I should have not handled that like an NW3. It's only half a hide to call a false alert. Not that you want lots of false alerts. One of my main goals when I was going through Elite with Icy was to not have any no's, but there were times that no's were valuable and important, and you don't want to have that response of like, oh no, when you get a no, because there's probably a hide really close to you.
Yeah.
And even if there isn't, that break from focusing on your search is not useful. You can't, it's great again to have like a really, really high scoring Elite weekend day, but you can't let perfection overtake your focus for the weekend.
What's
for the day.
saying? Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that saying.
One other thing I would say is a lot of people want to elite challenges. Let's throw elevation. Let's throw close. And those things aren't bad necessarily, but people overdo it. You're going to end up getting more points having strong fundamentals than by working on those advanced order problems. So my advice will be not to change your training dramatically, to stick to your foundations and go to an elite trial with solid foundations. The hides you miss, if it's a high hide, okay, increase the rate of high hide skills a little bit. Small balance. Don't overcorrect.
Yeah. Now, I don't think with close hides
it's
that it's a bad thing to do
with
a lot of them, because just focus on sourcing within close hides. And you really, really, for all elite hides, for all searches, you want the dog turning their nose back on right after they're done with a hide. You don't want them moving through space and then going back to work. This is another difference between NW3 handling and elite handling, is that in NW3, most of the time, you can find a hide, you get it, and you can move on. If you move on in elite, you're going to miss close hides at least some of the time. You have to be expecting them. You have to be not running away into new areas all the time. Now, of course, don't overdo it. Don't detail things to death. But I noticed this with someone a few months ago who had been doing elite with another dog and then had a new dog in NW3, and she was handling an NW3 like it was an elite trial, which I have seen in myself, where I'm kind of being overly careful and over searching a little bit because I have a handling expectation of close hides. And in NW3 that can waste some time and energy, but in elite, if you don't do that, you will miss things. Mm-hmm. When you did your first elite with Minnow, was there anything that was like a light bulb difference or anything like that?
No. Oh, memory. I realized in a 7 hide search, my memory goes to 3.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, I have no idea what I found or what I haven't found. Not a clue. Not a clue. And I haven't worked on memory because I generally consider my memory to be pretty good. And so I was like, yeah, I need to start doing all those drills that I tell my students to do.
And it can be built, there's no reason for anyone to say, I just have a bad memory, I won't bother trying. If you work on it, you will improve it. And so take the time to do that because it makes a difference.
Yeah.
My memory is between 6 and 7 usually, and I've been trying to get it to 8. At the summit last weekend, there was the video that I posted on Facebook where we had 8 hides, and I told Michael that we found 7. Until I rewatched my video and counted them. Oh, okay, we found 8. So always something to work on. I'm sure there are a lot of other elite things. Anything else about that question?
A comment in the chat: don't move far away from when you find a hide. Hides may be closer than NW3. Very important. Like our handling, not just the training of the dog, but our handling needs to shift because hides can be very close. And so you need to take that into account. Absolutely.
Anything else about elite for now?
I don't think so.
Okay. We've got a useful suggestion. If you volunteer to trial where there's multiple false alerts on one container, if it's an ORT box, you can ask the host if you can have that box at the end of the day. They'll just throw it away. Otherwise, it helped my dog with containers.
Yes, I've taken a lot of boxes from trials.
And sometimes the host wants to, keep them for their own classes. But but often
You can always
often
ask. They can say
are
no.
getting
Yeah.
rid of them. And someone had commented on an earlier question that maybe we need to start an RSG dog rule items mail exchange so we can all practice this at home. And I know someone who, for a while, was having her friends mail her jars of slobber. There are ways, if you don't have people close to you, dogs close to you, that you can get slobbered things. But also, if you can, reach out to your local area, that's great too.
Absolutely.
And even if you can just get in a small local group and trade boxes every couple of weeks or something,
Yeah. What are some of your more out-of-the-box ways of increasing motivation in difficult to motivate dogs who are uninspired by most reinforcement?
It's kind of difficult because when you have a dog who's not highly motivated, I would want to look at why. Is there a health issue? Because that will change my answer. Or is it just that the dog is overweight and overfed and no one's ever structured feeding for this dog or play for this dog? Is the dog playing with other dogs or do they play with you? What is going on in this dog's mind? The main things that I do that might be a little out of the box are throwing treats or throwing tins. Just throwing a tin in of itself and throwing treats are important. The next thing might be to reduce places of obvious conflict. So picking up hides after you're done feeding them. There's no reason with a dog who's low on motivation to get in a fight with you about going back to a hide. That's just like killing what little motivation you have. So if you pick up hides as you go, 90% of the times you're going to end up taking less money out of the bank. What else? Lots of praise and petting. Don't be embarrassed. Now, sometimes dogs are turned off by that, and that may be one of the reasons your dog might be low motivation is because you've been taking the advice of to be exciting, not too literally is not the right way, but in a way that what would make you feel excited, as opposed to what make the dog feel excited.
We had a student in California with a husky who was sometimes interested in food and would take it, and sometimes not. Sometimes really into a toy, sometimes not. And what we and her owner sort of moved toward together was her getting freeze-dried rabbit ears.
Yeah.
When the dog found the hide, playing with the rabbit ear for a moment, and then allowing the dog to spend time chewing on that. And it made a huge difference. It was slow. It was not a necessarily a first place time strategy, but it made a big difference for that dog. So sometimes it's just weird stuff.
Yeah.
Some dogs are into weird food that we don't normally expect. I'm sure you've tried, all this stuff already, but sometimes it's just like asking, like, would you actually prefer to work for Cheerios instead of all the amazing stuff I've been giving you?
And it's a little bit old school advice, but deprive your dog a little bit more. Put them in their crate a little bit more. Put them in their crate a couple hours before training. Just make them sit there bored. So when they come out, they're wanting to do something. Deprive them a little bit of food, like skip dinner if you're going to class. Things like that. Don't let your dog go run around the backyard with another dog for 5 hours before your class. Like maybe all of your dog's energy is going somewhere else, and that you just need to conserve that energy for them.
Yeah, and
at
we
least
don't
for
know
a time.
anything about this dog.
No.
Who knows if we're hitting anything?
These are just general, exactly.
Trying to think of something else. I know a dog who will only work for French fries, which I wouldn't want to have to get French fries for my dog every time I train. But we had a student with Silken Windhounds who would go and pick up just whatever random different foods occurred to her on her way to class, and they would usually work for about 2 hides, and then they would be off them again. My first nose work dog, I did just lots and lots of variety, made a really big difference with her. Although if I had her now, I would work her for a toy instead of food.
I had a student that says that I told them this, and I don't remember telling them this, but they claim it really helped. It really helped.
Might as well take credit then.
Yeah. I don't remember saying this, but he did this for months, and I had no idea. And he said it made a huge difference. He put odor tin at the bottom of the food bowl every time he fed the dog, like a big odor tin underneath his dog's food bowl, big enough that the dog is not going to eat it. And that's how he fed the dog his meals.
I think Ron was recommending that for a while.
But he says I recommended it. I don't remember recommending it, but he claims it helped. And it was a Basset Hound, so try it. Who knows?
He wouldn't have worked.
Because these are times where the dog is already prepared to accept a reinforcer. So you're not taking the food out on the road where the dog is not inspired, but you're instead using the meal time the dog already has. Well, there's your odor inside the food bowl.
Very classical conditioning.
Yeah, that's as classical as you can get.
All right.
Hopefully some of those tips are useful to someone.
And usually things like that, the more interesting out of the box things come out when you're like talking it over and over and over and get into some brainstorming. Are there certain steps you take to introduce toys as a reward in Nosework?
Yeah, again, I'd love to plug my More Than Payment webinar for Scentwork University, because I do talk about this, and I say whenever you want to introduce toys in any training, there's preliminary toy training you need. Your dog needs to understand, do not touch a toy unless you're invited to. Out immediately when I say out. If you can't get those things, you shouldn't be using your toy in training. You should instead be building toy drive. Now, you're going to have problems in one of those two categories with different dogs. So the dog who isn't interested in the toy, like you need to get them to take it. So that's number one. They need to want the toy. And that means you got to go out to parks. You got to go out to field trips. Just like you go out to parks to train Nosework, you need to go out to parks just to do toy play. Okay, if your dog's playing with toys in new environments, great. Can they out it? And then when you out it, immediately strike it again when you ask them to. When you out them, is there a lot of conflict in the out? Are you having to trade them for another toy or for a treat? Or can you just say out and they spit it out? These are important things. Now, if all of that's good, you have really, really great toy drive. Then, when you want to introduce it to Nosework, my favorite way is to do your Nosework search like normal, the way you've been doing it before, just giving them food, and then use toy at the end of the search. Just play with them. Stay out there and play with them until they play with you, and then put them away. As the dog gets used to that, because it's hard for most dogs' brains to switch from food to toy. Once they start learning how to switch,
years of expectation that you're delivering food,
then you can start playing with it within the search. And then the last thing would be, if you're really wanting to switch to a toy or get that benefit, spend 2 weeks toy only, no food allowed. And the first couple days are usually okay, and then the dog drops off and they're not interested in the toy at all. And then if you break through that in a week, the dog is all about it. They're enjoying themselves. They're having fun playing at every hide. Okay, great. And then now you've built this. Sometimes I can play with toys. Sometimes I can play with food.
Something that I have found very valuable with using a toy in Nosework is that if I'm going to use a toy, I warm the dog up on the toy with some strikes and outs and tug before I send them to search. Then I send them to search. They are warmed up for the toy already, and I usually get good willingness to work for the toy. If I spring it on them, where I have not told them that we're using a toy right now, then I get, where's my food?
Absolutely.
Even with dogs who are incredibly toy motivated. So don't spring your reinforcement on your dog. Let them know what you intend to give them. And also make sure you're playing with them in a way that's meaningful to them. You know, if a dog is interested in tug, they're often the easiest ones to work in Nosework. If your dog only cares about something flying through the air, you can find ways to make that work in practice, but you may struggle to make that work in competition unless you're very creative. So, you know, I knew a dog who all they wanted to do was catch the ball. And then they'd release it and they'd find the next hide and they'd catch the ball. And that was very, very, very motivating for them. A lot of people have to figure out how to make their ball dog able to play with a toy on a rope so that they can keep it under their control, because you can't have toys flying around competition search areas. So you may have to do some experimenting, and even if you never use it in trial,
you don't have to use it in trial just to use it in training.
Using it in training can still be exceptionally worth it.
Yes. Let's do this one first. This one's faster than that one. Can you carry a small dog in a search area? Stormy had a huge search area and we could have saved some time in her steps if I carried her across unproductive areas.
I don't see any reason why not.
You absolutely can. The problem is, are you sure it's unproductive? Yeah. That can be dangerous.
Everything is a gamble. Every handling decision is a gamble.
Exactly. It's a gamble. So are you sure that not just that there might be hides there, but there's no information there that your dog will need? Because often when you pick them up, they go off. Also, I would say, unless you're practicing this in training, you probably should do a new start routine once you put them down.
Yeah, and now sometimes in something like a leader summit, you have a section that you know is out of play. Mm-hmm. Like the first summit I did, we had 3 barns, and the space between the barns, not in play at all. So absolutely save your little dog's energy, carry them over and restart them. In the summit Icy and I did last weekend, we had 3 classrooms that were off of a hallway. We knew the hallway was not in play. I did not carry her, but I did sprint between rooms which I would not have done if they were in play, to save time.
Yeah.
Did we have another one on this?
We do. Wait, no, not on there.
Yeah. Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm new to the group. I'd like to know your views on whether you can treat too much at source. What are the disadvantages? I'm asking because I found your comment about teaching the dog to scavenge versus hunting on the Network University interesting.
And this is somewhat related to our very first question that we answered today. Or no, when was it? Oh, it was the one about distance searches in summits, where we talked a little bit on it, the advantages and disadvantages of at source or not. But go ahead.
I don't have an answer. Hang on. You talk for a bit.
Okay. So I think too much is a really difficult question to answer because so much depends on the dog. I think you can get an exceptional amount of work done always paying at source, but there are times where it is not feasible or even possible. So it may be like you're not going to climb under a table to pay a super deep hide at trial. And in many cases, you have super inaccessible hides where you can't pay at source. So the dog needs to understand that sometimes they are not going to get paid at source. And some dogs are very, very, very habit driven. I think dogs are in general, but some dogs take that to another level of if you change a habit, they can have a breakdown. So you have to know who your dog is in that case so that you can calibrate to what they can handle.
Yeah. So there are 2 different payings at source that we can talk about. One is pairing and one is the handler paying at source. In terms of disadvantages, I made this on my slideshow so you're going to get a little bit of information that I gave at the Network University webinar. The disadvantages of pairing is that it can overshadow odor if you're using too strong of a treat compared to the odor. It's not usable in trial. You can't pair in trial. And that it can create destructive behavior if you're pairing hides that the dog can't reach. They might scratch or try to bite at it. So those are disadvantages of pairing in terms of rewards at source. The disadvantages I put for the standard model of reinforcement at source, handing the dog food from your hand at source, disadvantages are that it's slow, that the time it takes you to walk to the dog, reach in the treat pouch, and give the treat to the dog, that amount of time can create problem behaviors. It can also disassociate the reward with the behavior if you're not careful about how you're using it. It can be boring. A lot of people are really kind of flat and not interesting when they pay at source.
I think they feel like paying at source is the job and that you don't need anything else.
Yeah. And it doesn't work with all hide types. So if you only ever pay at source, then when you have a hide type where you can't pay at source, if it's inaccessible, if it's deep behind somewhere, or you can't go there because you're like trying to get extra points staying behind a line, your dog needs to use that. So that said, I feel like most of I don't think you can do it too much, let's say, but I think you can do it the wrong ways too much. I also think it's good to show your dog a lot of different types of reinforcement, even though I spent a lot of years basically only doing this hand reinforcement at source. That's the only way I rewarded for years. It created a very good dog, but I think I create better dogs now by reinforcing in different ways.
Yeah, and a lot of the cons, not all, some of those cons are really important cons, but a lot of them can also be pros or can be mitigated quite easily as long as you're thoughtful about how you're utilizing it.
Absolutely.
Did you want to read the pros?
No.
Okay. You feel like people know the pros?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I hope they do. If you don't know,
don't know it, buy the webinar.
Or ask for next month's NAMA. All right. Well, since I have a class in 15 minutes and some of my students are here, we should probably
absolutely.
Sign
When's
off
the next one?
Week. Thank you all for all of your participation and additional questions. As you know, we really like it when you participate.
Yes, we really do.
Our next one, why don't we do it on the 13th of July? Does that work?
13th of July. Okay. Have a good Independence Day. And we will see you in July.
please send your questions as soon as they occur to you, up to and including the day of.
Yes.
But as you saw tonight, your questions will get priority. They'll be we try to the best of our ability to rank them as they come in.
Yeah.
So the sooner you get your question in, more likely it is to be at the top or to get answered if we get a lot of questions. Thank you all for being here.
Okay. Bye, guys. I pressed edit instead of end.
Whoops.